Giving honor to God. Thank you, Brother Pastor, sir. To be in your fellowship again. I greet you as the pastor-elect. Once again, y'all have called a homeboy.
Amen. Amen.
From my hometown. We were just comparing notes, and as I sat there and I was talking with him, as it turns out, his brother also worked for Metro like I did.
Amen.
So we have something else in common.
Yes, sir.
I'm sitting here now trying to recover from my spiritual meltdown a few minutes ago. I'm just always in awe how God blindsides you.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
When you least expect it.
Yes, sir.
I got up this morning and anticipating being in the presence of God and His people here. And God began to speak to me where I thought He was going to take me in the message. God woke me up this morning and says, I want you to go another direction.
Amen.
And I said, okay, Lord. And the topic He gave me is, I will go where you go.
Amen.
And this story I know we're all familiar with. It's a story of a lady by the name of Ruth.
Yes, sir.
The story is found in Ruth chapter 1, verses 1 through 22. And it says, "Now it came to pass in those days, in the days when the judges ruled, that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab. He and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi. And the name of his 2 sons was Mahlon and Chilion, Ephraimites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. And she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab.
Right.
And the name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return to the country of Moab. And for she had heard in the country of Moab how the Lord had visited His people in giving them bread. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. And Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to your mother's house, and the Lord deal kindly with you as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. And the Lord grant you that ye might find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. And she kissed them and lifted up her voice and wept. And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, "Turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, and go, for I am too old to have an husband. And if I should say, I have hope, if I should have an husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, why would ye tarry for them until they were grown? For would you stay for them for having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes, that the hand of the Lord is gone against me. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her.
Amen.
And she said, Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee, for whither thou goest, I will go.
Amen.
And whither thou lodgest, I will lodge.
Yes.
And thy people shall be my people, thy God, my God.
Yes.
Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. And the Lord also to me, will the Lord do also to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. So when she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, Is this Naomi? And she said unto them, Call me not Naomi, call me Mara. For the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. It's a joy to be here with the semi-annual meeting once again. This passage of Scripture is about relationships, it's about trust, and it's about faith. There's several things that I see in this passage of Scripture that I would like to talk about. The story is very familiar to me, and one that I find very pivotal in the fact that the decision that Ruth made changed the course of not only her life, but the course of Naomi's life, and also what would change, who would have a pivotal point in the lineage of the Messiah to come. Had she gone back along with her sister-in-law Orpah, how her life would have been different.
Yes.
Amen.
I wonder if Orpah had stayed. I wonder what blessing she might have gotten had she stayed. It was all about choices.
Yeah.
Amen.
It was all about choices. When I think about the fact that here these three ladies left Moab together. Now, first of all, when you think of the history of what God had mandated that the Israelites not take wives of anyone other than the Israelites.
Yes.
The sons of Naomi had done wrong in the first place.
All right.
And in the process, thank you, most of them, in the process, they had done wrong and they died. Now, whether or not the death was natural causes or some punishment, but something about Naomi made her understand or feel that in some way she was being punished because her husband had passed away and her two sons had passed away. Now she is a widow and she is childless.
Bye-bye.
She had no sons to take care of her in her old age. She was in a strange land, in a land that God was not blessing because they were not the people she was supposed to be with.
Amen.
They left their own land because of famine. The famine that happened was because the Israelites had been in a state of sin,
Yes.
and that's why there was a famine.
Amen.
Yeah.
During the time of the judges, there was a sin cycle.
Yeah.
When Israel sinned, they suffered. When Israel cried out unto the Lord sent a deliverer, then he blessed them.
Yeah.
So now in the time of their deliverance, they are now being blessed again in the land of Judah because the land now is flourishing because the end of that passage tells us there is a barley harvest.
Yeah.
So now Naomi feels I can go back home.
Yes.
There's something at home for me. But yet, how is she going to be provided for?
Yeah.
She has no husband.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is no kind of assistance for widows at this time. The only way widows could be provided for or the poor could be provided for was the fact that if you read the story, when the harvest was done, the Israelites' law said that you had to leave some in the field for the poor folks.
Yeah.
Leave some in the field for the orphans.
Yeah.
Leave some in the field for the widows.
Praise God.
So Naomi now knows if I at least go back with the land being blessed, I can at least go back and get something to eat.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I got kinfolk back there. Maybe I can find a place to stay
Amen.
with my kinfolk.
Right.
I can go back and get something to eat from gleaning from the leftovers of the field.
Yeah.
Amen.
Only problem was she's old. Now, I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm retired now. Once, twice, 3 times retired. And at one time I could bend over and stand up, get out on the floor, get up, spring up. And the other day when I was teaching preschool or Head Start, I got out on the floor with the kids, and I'm not going to tell you all the noises I made getting up off the floor with the kids and grabbing onto little people chairs and kids laughing at me. Said, Mr. Jackson, why are you making all those noises? I says, I'm old, and these are old people noises I make getting up off the floor. And so they're laughing, and I'm exaggerating the noises, but they don't know behind all the noises are a little bit of pain.
Yes, sir.
All right? Now, can you imagine now Naomi having to go out and glean in the fields with arthritis in her back and her knees and her hand, just to get something to eat. But Naomi had Ruth that decided to go with her.
Mm-hmm.
So Naomi has Ruth going out in the field to glean for both of them.
Yes.
To bring something in to eat. So you know the story. So while she's out there, Naomi was a pretty woman. And Boaz takes a liking to her.
Amen.
But yet these are still dangerous times. And when Boaz asks and finds out who that is in the field, and he's told, well, this is the Moabitess woman that came back with your distant relative Naomi. He says, oh, well, you know, she's kind of an attractive woman. Mm-hmm. I tell you what, make sure that when you're harvesting, you leave some extra and steer her over to where you put the extra, and you all make sure nobody takes advantage of her. Mm-hmm. I don't want anything to happen to her.
Yeah.
And of course, the story goes on that he likes her and would like to have her for his wife, but the catch is there is a nearer kinsman.
Yes.
And the law says
Yes.
that the first opportunity for has to go to the nearer kinsman.
Yes.
To redeem the property that Naomi has as a dowry to get Ruth to be the wife. The nearer kinsman decides, I can't do this. Don't know what his reasons really were. We can only assume that because she wasn't one of them, wasn't one of his people, she was one of those people. You know that phrase.
Yeah.
You know, those people, I can't deal with those people.
Yeah.
Since she was one of those people, I can't deal with her. Because what will my neighbors think? What will the rest of my family think if I deal with those people? You know, and I thought about that when I was listening this morning when talking to my father about a wedding that took place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here we have someone that married one of those people.
Right.
Wasn't one of his people.
Yeah.
And yet now, one of those people has a title bestowed on her.
Yes, sir.
And the whole world can see.
Yes.
Amen.
All right?
Yes, sir.
And here now, because the nearer kinsman did not want one of those people, he passed it off, and Boaz can now take the lady that he wants.
Yeah.
And one of those people is now become part of the royal family.
Yeah.
Because you know the story,
Glory.
Ruth married Boaz.
Yeah.
Ruth and Boaz became the parents of Obed.
Yes.
And Obed became the father of Jesse.
Yes, sir.
And Jesse became the father of David.
Yeah.
And you trace the lineage on down, and David became the line, was in the line of Jesus.
Yeah.
All because Ruth decided, I will go where you go, Naomi.
Yeah.
I will trust you, Naomi, to go where you go. Naomi, your God is going to be my God. Where they bury you, Naomi, I will be buried. I want to follow the same God you follow. Now, wait a minute. There was something she had to have seen that Naomi must have been doing to make her want to follow. All right. Naomi must have had a prayer life that was a witness to Ruth.
Glory.
She must have had a testimony that Ruth picked up on.
Yes, sir.
She must have decided from watching to forsake the gods of the Moabites. She must have had something that she saw in Naomi that made her decide wherever she's going, I want to follow, because there's got to be something that she has that I can glean, not just from a field, but glean from her life.
Yeah.
And as a result, she got a blessing.
Yeah.
Now, Naomi couldn't see all that God had in store. What she thought was a curse, what she thought the devil had taken from her, God had turned it around and turned it into a blessing and a testimony.
Yes, sir.
You see, the word testimony has at its root the word test. You see, in order, and we've said it before, in order for there to be a testimony, there must be a test. You have to have tried something in order for you to know that it's going to work. In order for something to work, you have to first take it through some quality assurance. You have to put it to the test. So Naomi's faith had to be tried. Oh yeah, it was not good to lose a husband and go through grief. It was not good to lose 2 sons and go through grief.
That's right.
That was her quality assurance test. That was her going through the test. That was her being tried by the fire. That tears falling was probably the fire purging her soul. But what she could not see was God had a plan for her life. She still was going to have a grandbaby by a near kinsman that she could rock in the cradle of her arms and call her grandbaby, but she couldn't see it when she was leaving Moab. I believe if the song could have been written back then as she was rocking Obed, I believe she would sing, when I look back over my life and I think things over, I can truly say that I've been blessed. I got a testimony. I believe Ruth could say, my soul looks back and wonders how I got over. Oh, I believe somebody had to say, I will trust in the Lord, and I will lean not to my own understanding, because in all my ways I've got to acknowledge Him, and He shall direct my path. I will go, Lord, where you lead me. Sometimes you can't always see the path clearly. But all I can tell you is when God says go, put one foot in front of the other and follow Him. Every disciple that Jesus chose, He didn't say this is the path that you're going to take. He just said, follow me. He only told them one thing. He said, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. He told them, He says, now you're catching fish today, but from now on, you're going to catch men. He didn't give them all the specifics. He didn't tell them how much they were going to be persecuted. He didn't tell them about the trials or tribulations. He did not give them all the specifics back then, but He did tell them, follow me, and I will cause you to be blessed, because you're going to catch men and not fish. You see, after a while, the fish will stink. But if you catch men for my glory, that's going to lead up unto a well of salvation.
Yeah.
It's going to lead to a well of sweet savor in the presence of God.
Yeah.
Oh, Ruth, you couldn't see the whole picture then, but something had you see enough to decide to follow where Naomi was going, though neither of you could see the light that was leading and what would happen at the end. Oh, Naomi, you were feeling grief then and weeping then, but in the morning, joy was coming.
Yes, sir.
In our morning, if we keep following Jesus,
Yes, sir.
joy will come. We just got to hold on
My Lord.
and continue to follow.
My Lord.
We have the advantage
Yes, sir.
of being able to look back
Yeah.
Yes.
over the 42
Yeah.
generations.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
They had to look forward
Yeah.
in trust. But you see, each of us has our Moabite situations.
Yeah.
Each of us have some famines that we're going through.
Yes, sir.
And we can't see. And we feel like we're being persecuted.
Yes.
And sometimes the persecution is just being tried by the fire. Just like Job
Yeah.
being put to the test. Because the hotter the fire, the purer the gold.
Yeah.
And you're going to come forth and you're going to look back and say, oh, I didn't see this blessing coming.
Yeah.
But you see, I don't believe sometimes we're supposed to see
Yes, sir.
the outcome. Is because then we might just sit back
Yeah.
and not go through the whole test.
Yeah.
Because the test is what makes you strong.
Yeah.
The test builds your courage.
Yes.
The test builds your strength.
Yes.
The test teaches you how to trust.
Yes, sir.
The test builds the relationships that are needed along the way.
Yeah.
Now, some of us might be discouraged when we look around and we can count the number of folks that are here today. And we might feel, well, where is everybody? Don't be discouraged. We ought to be excited because the Lord showed up this morning. Did not you feel him show up when the praise hit? Did not you feel him show up when the anointing hit? When I know I wasn't the only one that felt it. I heard some folks sniffling and weeping. I know I felt some hands in the air and some other praise other than mine. It's not about the numbers. It's about the praise going up and the sweet savor coming down. God is not through with us yet. Just hold on. The outcome is yet to come. Just tell him, I will go where you lead me.
Amen. Amen.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Amen. Bless the Lord.
Amen.
Bless the Lord.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus.
Bless the Lord.
Man, let's give God hands for the
Oh,
word.
yeah.
For the word.
Oh, yeah. Yes, yes,
For the word.
Praise God. Praise God.
yes. Bless you, man.
I will go where you go.
Yes, sir.
Bless you.
That's a commitment.
Yes, it
That's
is.
right.